Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for being here. Tuesday, April 22nd. Obviously not recording on the regular camera if you're used to watching the channel. Regular camera's down right now. Needs to be charged up a little bit more. And we are rolling with the iPhone as the webcam right now. Earlier today, talked a good bit about, no surprise, the Jaguars in the NFL draft, what they're going to do with the 5th overall pick. Talked about a lot of the different scenarios that could play out, trading down, some of the different prospects they could take, potentially taking like offensive lineman Will Campbell with the 5th pick. One thing I didn't address is if the Jaguars are really interested in taking an offensive lineman and Will Campbell's off the board to the Patriots at 4, which I kind of expect him to be. I've long thought Will Campbell made a lot of sense for the Patriots, like even before the draft order was set, long time ago. I just throughout the process, even last summer, I talked about Will Campbell to the Patriots. I could still see that in a big way. I think he's the best offensive lineman in the draft. And so we talked about him a little bit earlier, but we didn't really talk about any of the other offensive line options for the Jaguars at 5 overall, who they could potentially target in that range or even in a trade down scenario. So we're going to do that right now. We're going to take a look at some of these guys, and I'll just offer you my thoughts and opinions on some of these prospects. So I'm excited to get into it. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Would also like to remind y'all once again, Club Jaguar, which is myself, UCF Jaguar, Jason from Jaguars United. We are going to be recording live for the entire first round of the 2025 NFL Draft at Bottlenose Brewing over in Tinseltown. We'll be there. Going to be a big Jaguars draft party. We are going to be, again, recording live. There's going to be drink specials. Jason is going to be giving away a beer to the first 20 people that show up. And we're also going to have a mic set up for fans to come on and chat with us. So should be a really good time. Come see us, Bottlenose Brewing at Tinseltown. As I've said many times, I do think that Will Campbell is the best overall offensive lineman in this class. If I was just looking to take a left tackle, Josh Simmons would be my guy. I don't think the Jaguars are kind of in a scenario where that should be the case. Right? Like you have Walker Little, you have Anton Harrison. I don't really see it as it's only a tackle. I think if you're drafting an offensive lineman early in this draft and you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, they probably need to have some versatility. They probably need to play guard for you because I don't know who you're drafting that's coming in and starting over Walker Little and Anton Harrison from day one. And I know Jaguars fans sometimes sit here and try to throw Walker Little under the bus and say he's not a good football player. Go watch the guy play. Watch the tape. He does a pretty damn good job overall, especially at left tackle. Anton Harrison is growing as well, developing in his career. So I look at these guys. I think those are your two starting tackles in 2025 and probably 2026. However, if you draft somebody that has versatility to play guard, they could potentially play tackle down the road. So I don't think you're drafting a tackle only. I don't think you're drafting Josh Simmons. And the fact of the matter is Josh Simmons is coming off of a knee injury. But I would say easily Josh Simmons is my OT1 if we're talking offensive tackle specific. Now, offensive lineman, though, Will Campbell is my top guy. Again, I think Patriots make the most sense for him. I really do. I think he's probably going to come off the board there. You got to protect your young quarterback, Drake May. I like Will Campbell to the Patriots a lot. Some of the other guys that maybe have some guard tackle versatility at the top, Arman Mamboo, generally considered to be top 10 to 15 type of guy. He's in the teens for me, back half of the teens. I think he's got a lot of refinement that he needs to undergo to become an elite tackle. He also played right tackle at Missouri. He's never played left tackle. He's never played guard. There's times where I have questions about his anchor, where I have questions about his hand placement. Now, what you can't question is the fact that as a 20-year-old this year, he went out and pretty much dominated the entire SEC. That's freaking impressive. It really is. You also can't deny that Arman Mamboo had a great pre-draft process, especially at the combine, with his testing and his measurables. Like, he legitimately tested like an all-world athlete at the tackle position. He looks like, at 330 plus pounds, he has the ability to potentially play guard. We have not seen that. And again, if you're talking about questioning the anchor a little bit, talking about dealing with some of these stronger interior defensive linemen, that's a little bit of a concern. And again, I still think the feet are clunky at times. The hand placement is not perfect at times. I do like his game a lot. Like, this is nitpicking to the umpth degree because you're trying to figure out who's going to be a good player, who has bust potential, who's going to be a great player. I think Will Campbell is going to be a great player in this league. I think Josh Simmons is going to be a great player in this league. And those are the only offensive tackles right now who I feel really good about saying that about. And now Will Campbell, we haven't seen him play guard either, but I think he could play guard at an extremely high level based on his skill set. But probably won't be available to the Jaguars. One player who's very, very interesting, Kelvin Banks. Dilla earlier today posted a little mock draft clip where he had Kelvin Banks to the Jaguars at 5 after Will Campbell went to the Patriots at 4. So there's a few different ways to look at this. Obviously, that's not Dilla saying that Kelvin Banks would be ahead of Will Campbell on the Jaguars board. That's him saying that Kelvin Banks would be ahead of every other potential offensive lineman than Will Campbell, right? That's tough for me. I don't see it that way. I do like Kelvin Banks. Again, I think he's a guy who should be a top 32 overall prospect in 2025, so I think he should go in the first round. There's some really high-level stuff on tape. I think at times he looks really springy with his lateral agility and his movements overall, but I think you see him playing out over his skis a lot, which leads to him falling off blocks. It leads to balance issues. I also don't think he has nearly the anchor that a Will Campbell has, but again, in this scenario that Dilla posted, Will Campbell's gone. He's not even an option for you, so that's kind of a moot point. But I do think Kelvin Banks projects better inside to guard, which could be good for the Jaguars. I think if there's a position that could be had in the starting lineup for the Jaguars in 2025 on the offensive line, it's probably left guard. Did they really bring in Robert Hainsey just to sit him down on the bench once again at a little over $7 million per year? I mean, that would be a tough pill to swallow for Robert Hainsey, I think. And I just don't know that that's exactly what their plan is. But Ezra Cleveland is a player this regime did not sign. He's also, in my opinion, of the 3 returning starters, Walker Little, Anton Harrison, Ezra Cleveland, he is the guy that's probably the one you could move on earliest from. Anton Harrison is only going into year 3 of his rookie deal, and the Jaguars have the 5th-year option they can pick up. He could be on his rookie deal for the next several years. Walker Little was signed to a contract during the 2024 season, and the team out for that deal won't be until after the 2026 season, whereas Ezra Cleveland, they could move on from a cap standpoint after the 2025 season with Ezra Cleveland. And I think that if they have the opportunity to draft someone they feel can be their long-term interior offensive line pillar, like that guy who just lifts everyone else up on the interior of the offensive line, kind of sets the tone up front, can be an identity type of player for them in the first round, they're probably going to say that's a lot more valuable than making Ezra Cleveland happy, right? Is Kelvin Banks that guy? I think he has the potential to be still a young prospect. Will Campbell, elite athlete. Well, great. I would say great athlete. Will Campbell's a great athlete at his size. Arman Mamboo, an elite athlete at his size from a testing standpoint. Kelvin Banks is a good athlete, right? He's got good size. I think he's got good strength. I think he's got good lateral agility. I think that the explosiveness is there, but it's all on the good level, not great. Like Will Campbell and Arman Mamboo are clearly better athletes, in my opinion, than Kelvin Banks. Now, that's, again, not to say Kelvin Banks is a bad athlete. He's just a good athlete. And so a good athlete versus those two guys, Will Campbell and Arman Mamboo, I just have a hard time putting him in that top 5, top 10 range as compared to some of these other guys because A, I think that the tape is less consistent and more concerning, and B, I think that the athleticism just is not on nearly the same level as certainly Arman Mamboo, and even not really close to Will Campbell. And we'll keep talking about some offensive linemen here because you could potentially see a trade down for the Jaguars. Maybe they're just trying to drum up some noise for somebody to move up for Ashton Genty. So we'll talk about that here first. Got to remind you all about Underdog Fantasy. Do you ever watch sports and find yourself wishing there was a way to get into the game? Now there is with Underdog Fantasy. To play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, i.e. points, strikeouts, touchdowns, a whole lot more. Y'all already know, as we always talk about, I'm selecting my guy, Paolo Banchero, probably Franz Wagner as well, for the Magic to go higher on points tomorrow night. Download the Underdog app and sign up now using promo code DuvalDaily to unlock a special offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Again, join in on the fun when you sign up with promo code DuvalDaily. Claim your special offer today and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly when you deposit. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus, Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus, Massachusetts and Arizona. Present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona 1-800-NEXT-STEP. That's 1-800-639-8783 or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. So again, a lot of the guys I think the Jaguars would consider maybe with the offensive line class would be guys that have probably that versatility to start their career inside, and then maybe long-term you work them outside, or if you just love what they're doing for you at guard, you can keep them there. I also would say, even though the positional value isn't as strong from a salary cap standpoint at guard or at center, you could just draft your guard of the future. Like Gray Zabel, I don't think you want him playing tackle. But if you trade down from 5 into the teens, I could see Gray Zabel being a good fit. Absolutely. I think if you want to have a balanced run scheme or even like an outside zone run scheme, which we don't know exactly what the Jaguars are going to want to do in their run game because Liam Cohen has a diverse background with his run schemes. He absolutely does. And the Rams, where James Gladstone came from and Liam Cohen came from, they pivoted. Like that was an outside zone team that converted to a gap power team, and the way they addressed their offensive line and built their offensive line changed along with that. If the Jaguars want to be a gap power scheme team, I would absolutely take Tyler Booker in the teens because he's going to be a great pass protector at guard. And in a gap power scheme, he's not going to have those assignments where he has to really get outside and show the athleticism that he doesn't really possess in spades. Tyler Booker's game is all about being an ass kicker, destroying the will of his opponent. He does that in pass protection, and he does that in the run game when you're talking about moving vertically more than moving horizontally. So Tyler Booker, to me, in that scenario, makes a ton of sense. I don't think you're really looking at anybody else quite that high. Maybe Donovan Jackson. Maybe. He certainly has the versatility to play guard or tackle. He played guard for almost all of his career at Ohio State. And then when our guy Josh Simmons had that injury, he had to kick out and play tackle. Started off a little rough. You know, some guys got the best of him. Abdul Carter gave him a fit. But down the stretch, Donovan Jackson played great at tackle. And he's a good athlete who I think has all the prerequisites to play tackle in this league. But again, somebody who could potentially give you the versatility to have a really nice, flexible offensive line room moving forward. Other than that, I don't really know who you're taking at offensive tackle or interior offensive line that early, quite frankly. If you're just talking tackle and you traded down in the teens, could you take a Josh Connerly? Yeah. He has all the, outside of Josh Simmons, in my opinion, Josh Connerly has all the prototypical type of traits that you're looking for in a left tackle. I think if you're just looking for a prototype left tackle, it's Josh Simmons and then Josh Connerly in this class. But if you're looking for versatility, I like Will Campbell. I like Arman Mamboo. I like Donovan Jackson. Kelvin Banks a little bit lower for me. I do like his game. Again, I think he should be top 32. I just couldn't consider him at 5 overall. Too many question marks. Again, good, not great athlete, balance issues, plays out over his toes a lot, and that was something he needed to improve on following the 2023 season. I still saw it on tape a lot in 2024, right? So there's some high level stuff. I think he's strong. I think that his lateral agility, his kind of springiness is really good. I also think though that the anchor is not nearly as strong as Will Campbell's. So I just can't get there with him at 5. We'll see if the Jaguars really go in that direction. I would hope that if the Jaguars are kind of out on Mason Graham for whatever reason, which I do not think they should be, I think Mason Graham's an excellent prospect, and Will Campbell's off the board, that they're looking at Ashton Genty. Because that's like, even though I know offensive tackle is a much more high value position from a contractual standpoint in the NFL than running back, there's a point where I just cannot take a subpar talent over an elite talent. And I'm not saying Kelvin Banks is subpar overall, but in the context of comparing him to Ashton Genty, I mean, Genty is a blue chip caliber prospect for me. Kelvin Banks has a round 2 grade. I just can't square that. I can't fathom that. That would be disappointing. I'd be pulling like heck for him if he ends up in Jacksonville, right? But I couldn't see the value of taking a Kelvin Banks at 5 overall. If you were going to trade down, and then I could potentially understand your logic a little bit more. But I would rather a number of prospects over Kelvin Banks in that situation. Guys that we've talked about: Will Johnson, Malachi Starks, Tyler Warren. The list kind of goes on and on of prospects I'd be higher on for the Jaguars. Luther Burden, Tedero McMillan, Matthew Golden. That's just where I stand when it comes to Kelvin Banks and the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I really appreciate y'all tuning in, supporting the channel. We will get this camera back up and running for tomorrow morning's show. And if y'all enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Have a good one.